As far as other things that I'm looking to focus on in the Stoke area specifically, we've recently actually had an incident not too far away from where I live of a grade listed historical building having to be pulled down partially. Because somehow between the private owner and the council getting on their case, that there wasn't the necessary work done to actually try and make the thing deemed safe. So people were going to so they basically went, right, we're going to have to pull it down as an emergency now because we can't guarantee that it might not topple over on someone. And I think it was a former teapot factory, but I'd actually walked near the place before it was pulled down, and if you're standing sort of parallel to where the building starts, you do actually see that it's just sort of tipping towards the road ever so slightly. So I can understand why it was deemed unsafe to be pulled down, but I think locals are rightly upset about the fact, simply because the situation was allowed to get to that stage anyway. And sadly, that's kind of the case many times over in Stoke, that because of the deindustrialization in the area, because many of the industry jobs have since disappeared, there's lots and lots of buildings that used to be factories, used to have all kinds of purpose to them, and they've been sitting there derelict in some cases, or looking derelict at least in some cases, for the better part of a decade or two, and just not enough is really being done about them. And it means that it's an eyesore, first of all, for the locals. It means that some of these buildings that have been here for a long time and are part of their sort of local historical heritage aren't having any attention paid to them. And it's just a bit of a shame as well. So what I'd be hoping to do would be trying to secure people who would find uses for these buildings. Now, one of the problems I'm encountering time and time again is I'm trying to work out what is in my gift of MP to do for the area and what is a responsibility of the council to do for the area. Because obviously I don't want to go around promising I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and then very quickly someone turns around to me and goes, actually, you can't do any of that because it's not your call. It's the Stoke-on-Trent Council who gets to decide that sort of thing. So what I've been saying in that sense, at the very least, is that I'd use my position in Parliament to vote to increase the central government grant towards councils, and then that would give Stoke-on-Trent Council more money. But I'd be using my influence as MP to try and convince the council to give more attention to some of the other towns around Stoke-on-Trent, not just the business commercial hub that is Hanley. Because don't get me wrong, Hanley, from what I understand, is well improved over what it was before. But many of the people who live in other areas of Stoke feel that they've been left behind. And God knows, certainly where I live and other places I've lived around Stoke as well, it looks like it's been left behind. It looks like people have just kind of been left to fend for themselves while the high street diminishes into charity shops and discount shops and takeaways, and the buildings are left empty and boarded up and all the rest of it. And it's a great shame. So I can list that off as a priority, at least, that I'd be doing all I could in my position to try and find uses for some of these buildings, to try and encourage a bit more activity to the area.